Thank you for joining me here, both in person and via live stream. My name is Tim O'Malley. I was recently appointed the Director of Program Integrity to help Minnesota address the issues of state program fraud. I'm going to offer a couple comments, a statement, and then I'll be happy to take any of your questions. Let me start with a reminder of not just the problem we're facing, but why I'm here. What was I asked to do, and maybe offer some context as to my role. Last December, the governor's office approached me to assist in identifying an achievable path for long-term fraud prevention, not quick fixes. Could underlying causes be examined? Could the identification of key contributing factors help us put together an actionable plan to deal with those causes, to improve the state's approach to fraud prevention over the long haul? Why me? My understanding is I was approached because of my legal background and pertinent work history. I'm an attorney, I was a judge, I was a BC agent, I was an FBI agent, and as superintendent of the BCI, I led a state agency. I have worked on and been in charge of projects very similar to this one over the last 20 years. Both in state government and with the Catholic Church. And with the Catholic Church, not just here in the Archdiocese, but throughout our country and globally. I think I was also approached because I'm not a political person. I have been appointed to state positions by two governors, one Republican and one Democrat. I agreed to engage in this project with a clear understanding that I would have the independence and autonomy to go wherever the facts may take me. I would not work on behalf of any individual or political party, but only in the interests of the people of Minnesota. The governor agreed to that, and he has not interfered or tried to influence my work in any way. Turning to the roadmap now, so how does that fit in? Its recommendations address a wide range of topics. Those recommendations arise out of the direct examination of contributing causes. Among the areas of improvement, leadership, process and controls, training, technology, state agency cultures, and stakeholder engagement. The roadmap offers a re-engineering to the state's approach so as to prevent and combat fraud in the future. It contains accurate information that is intended to help those in positions of power to make informed decisions and improve our current approaches. There is no quick fix. The state will have to continually adjust those approaches because when fraud prevention safeguards are implemented, we know that criminals will adapt. So while the roadmap addresses challenges known to us today, it also prepares us to anticipate and meet future challenges. To stay ahead, the state must maintain constant vigilance by performing ongoing assessments and then adjusting accordingly. The review undertaken to identify those contributing causes of fraud shows that going back to at least the 1970s, every administration and legislative body was put on notice of the vulnerabilities to the program integrity. Stronger prevention measures should have been taken. Repeatedly, plans were put in place but not executed effectively. Criminals have exploited those long-standing vulnerabilities to defraud our state, erode public trust, and impede the delivery of essential services to Minnesotans. That's unacceptable. Problems that are a half-century in the making will not be solved easily. The causes are multifaceted. No single reform will suffice. The recommendations set out in the roadmap provide a basis for a workable improvement plan, the success of which will require coordinated and sustained effort. Achieving such success requires accountability for all. Without strict accountability, well-intended plans will again go unexecuted, and vulnerabilities in program integrity will persist. Public trust has been eroded, justifiably so. Minnesotans should have confidence that their tax dollars are being put to good use. Their money is intended, should be used as intended and only as intended. But the costs are not just financial. It's important to keep in mind the extent of the harm that the failure to stop this criminal activity has caused. There are Minnesotans in need of essential services. Impeding the delivery of those services causes harm and must not continue. Minnesotans deserve better. It is irresponsible for state government to allow taxpayer money intended to provide those services to vulnerable Minnesotans to end up in the hands of fraudsters. We can learn from the past. Both the executive and legislative branches have the opportunity to fix this. Policy and budget proposals are being considered and debated right now. The hope is that this roadmap will help inform the decisions being made by identifying those historical contributing causes and offering recommendations to address those causes. Lastly, I want to emphasize a pivotal key point for success. Everybody needs to be held accountable. Everybody. You read in the roadmap a recommendation to appoint a skilled, independent monitor, someone with subject matter expertise and the requisite gravitas to drive home accountability. Implementing deliberate, actionable steps to prevent fraud will only succeed through effective enforcement. Otherwise, well-intended plans will again not be executed, changes will not become embedded, and today's opportunity to get this right will be lost. Happy to take any questions you have now.
Mr. O'Malley, I'm wondering,
one thing, if you could identify yourself in the media outlet you work for.
Lou Ragoose with KARE 11 News.
Thank you, Lou.
I'm curious what, candidly, you think were the main reasons that this fraud was able to balloon so much, even after dozens of indictments, as early as 2022 on the Phoenix Future major fraud case, countless news stories done showing fraud here and there. From the research you've done, what do you think are the main reasons it was able to continue and balloon in all these different programs?
Okay. Question has to be with why now? What's happened that resulted in the extent of the fraud taking place today, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I think it's important to go back to incrementally things were not done, literally for a half a century. This goes back to probably even earlier than the 70s, but you'll see in the report there's examples, especially of the legislative auditor, who does a nice job of laying out all these reasons. I think there's a couple contributing factors. If a number of people would have taken the steps earlier, that the vulnerabilities wouldn't be there today. Secondly, I think that there'll be a need for a cultural shift within the state, within state agencies. People engage in public service, from my observation, from meeting with people, because they care. They want to help the vulnerable. And I think there became a mindset of our job is more based on compassion than compliance, and that's misplaced. If state workers want to provide services, want to directly help people in need, then they should go work for a provider. They should deliver the wheelchairs. They should do the bed baths. They should take people to medical appointments. The state has a responsibility to make sure those things happen by protecting state payer money, by making sure that the money that is given to those that provide those services, that money goes for that. I think those were the contributing factors. Thanks.
Jim Olson with Channel 9.
Yeah.
You say this goes back at least a half century, and in the whistleblower reports here, you document a lot of these things going back. How well known do you believe this was going back decades? Was it not as well known then as it is now, or does your findings show that people were well aware of this as far back as the 70s and 80s?
I can't imagine that people in leadership over the last 50 years were not aware of this. You've looked at the way they've been put on notice about this troubling trend. As the last question gave me the opportunity to say, it's happened now. It's blown up, no doubt. But I think it was It was maybe not as high a priority as it should have been. You know, every governor, every commissioner has their own priorities, but everybody was put on notice.
Tim, Renee Cooper with Channel 5, KSTP. We got a copy of a meeting recap from the OIG Coordinating Council that you're a part of.
I'm sorry, could you speak up just a little louder? I'm kind of hard of hearing. I'm sorry.
No problem. We had a report on a meeting recap notes from the OIG Coordinating Council saying that the council was seeking workable solutions versus Heather Gustafson's bill. We saw now last week that there was an amendment to delete everything introduced and that there was an introduction to have the governor appoint this independent statewide watchdog rather than an independent council to take away that independent investigatory power. I guess, was the OIG council a part of that amendment? Were you? And if so, why weaken the investigative and an independence of that office?
Why weaken what?
Why weaken the investigative power and the independence of that proposed statewide watchdog?
Okay. Question has to do with the appointment or potential appointment of a statewide Office of Inspector General and the debate going on about the different versions of that bill. First, let me clarify a little bit of my role compared with that of the OIGCC. I do attend those meetings to learn from them, to gather the information I needed, and to offer some advice.